Hello and welcome. Those first 6 months with a new baby are just a complete whirlwind. It's this incredible time, just packed with breathtaking growth. But let's be real, it can also be filled with a lot of questions. So we're here to help you make sense of what's really going on during this amazing foundational period.
And this is it, right? This is the one question that echoes in the mind of pretty much every new parent. You see other babies, you read the books, maybe you're scrolling online late at night, and you just start to wonder. Well, this whole explainer is designed to cut right through that noise and turn that worry into some real, well-earned confidence.
All right, so before we even get to the fun stuff, like rolling over or cooing, we've got to grasp the sheer scale of the physical changes that are happening. I mean, this isn't just about your baby getting bigger. It's about building the very foundation for everything else that's coming.
Now, what's so fascinating is that this incredible journey of growth, it actually starts with a tiny step back. And this might surprise you, but almost all newborns lose about 7 to 10% of their birth weight in the first few days. Let me say that again. This is completely normal. It's just their little bodies adjusting to life on the outside, and they almost always gain it right back within a couple of weeks.
And once they start gaining that weight back, they really take off. It's honestly astonishing, but by 5 or 6 months old, most babies will have completely doubled their birth weight. Just think about that for a second. That kind of growth rate is something they will never, ever experience again in their entire lives.
So how does this actually happen? Well, as you can see here, in those first 3 months, they're packing on about 25 to 30 grams every single day. Then, from month 3 to 6, that rate naturally slows down just a bit, to about 15 to 20 grams a day. So if you notice things leveling off a little after month 3, don't worry. It is a totally expected part of their growth pattern.
And this slide, wow, this really shows what's powering all of this development. The physical growth you can see on the outside is a direct reflection of the absolute explosion of growth happening on the inside, specifically in their brain. That rapid growth in their head size, that's their brain literally building the massive network that's going to control everything from movement to language. It's incredible.
And it's so important to remember that this growth isn't some smooth, predictable line on a chart. It happens in bursts. Your baby might seem to be the same size for a week and then bam, overnight they've outgrown all their clothes. These little plateaus followed by super rapid gains, that's a growth spurt. And it's a completely normal part of the whole process.
Okay, so let's move on and see how all this physical growth starts turning into actual skills that we can see. But I really want you to think of this section less like a checklist and more like a friendly map. It shows the general path, sure, but every single baby is going to explore it at their own unique pace.
Let's kick things off with the big muscle groups, what we call their gross motor skills. So in those first couple of months, it's all about fighting gravity, right? That little bobblehead lift during tummy time. Then, by 3 or 4 months, you'll see that neck strength get way better as they start pushing up on their arms to get a good look around. And by 6 months, so many of them are mastering the rollover and even starting to sit up with a little help, getting a whole new view of their world.
At the exact same time, their fine motor skills are making huge leaps. You know that amazing feeling when their tiny little hand just automatically clamps down on your finger? That's the reflex grasp. But by 3 or 4 months, that becomes totally intentional. They see a toy and they decide to reach for it. And then by 6 months, they have the coordination to actually pass it from one hand to the other, which is a massive cognitive leap.
And of course, there is communication. It all starts with a cry and, startling at loud noises. But pretty soon, you'll start to hear those beautiful first coos. Then they begin to actually recognize the sound of your voice. And then the magic moment, around 5 or 6 months, when you get those first babbles and a real, genuine social laugh. It's the very beginning of a lifetime of conversations.
All of this ties right into their social and emotional world. I mean, the whole journey starts with simple eye contact, which then builds into that first, absolutely magical social smile. By 3 or 4 months, they're not just smiling randomly, they're smiling back at you. And this deepens into a true recognition of familiar, comforting faces by 6 months, which lays the groundwork for that secure, loving attachment.
Okay, we've seen the map, but this next part, this is arguably the most important thing we'll talk about. We have got to dismantle the myth of the average baby. Honestly, comparing your child to some line on a chart can create so much unnecessary stress. So let's get really clear on what actually matters. Please, if you take one thing away today, let it be this. Milestones are ranges, not deadlines. Every single baby is running on their own biological clock, you know? It's influenced by everything from their genetics to their own unique little personality. Some are movers and shakers early on. Others are quiet observers, just taking it all in. Both paths are perfectly, totally normal.
This slide is so crucial for understanding those growth charts. You're going to hear the word percentile a lot. All it really means is, if you lined up 100 healthy babies, where would yours fall on that line? So if your baby's in the 25th percentile for weight, they weigh more than 24 of those babies and less than 75. But here is the key. The number 25 itself doesn't matter nearly as much as the trend. What doctors really want to see is that your baby is consistently following their own curve, whether that's the 25th or the 85th. That steady, personal trend is the true sign of healthy growth.
So, understanding that all this variation is normal is key. But it's also really empowering to know which signs do warrant a conversation with your pediatrician. And look, this isn't about looking for problems. It's about being an informed, confident advocate for your child.
So while every baby is different, there are a few things that are worth bringing up with your doctor. Now, this list isn't meant to cause alarm, it's meant to empower you. If you notice things like consistently poor feeding, or no social smile by the time they hit 3 months, or really poor head control by 5 months, it's worth a check-in. Same thing goes for not tracking objects with their eyes, or feeling unusually floppy or stiff, or not responding to sounds. Just remember, early evaluation is simply the best way to get your baby any little bit of support they might need.
Let's end on the most powerful note of all, what you can actually do. Your role in this whole journey is just profound. And the most effective ways you can support their development are actually beautifully simple, and they're things you can weave right into your daily life.
And you know, the best part is, this doesn't require any fancy, expensive toys. It's all about the simple, everyday things you're already doing. Daily supervised tummy time, that builds the core strength they need to eventually sit and crawl. And when you talk and read and sing to your baby, even when you think they can't understand, you are literally building the language pathways in their brain. That quiet moment of just making eye contact during a feeding, that's building a foundation of emotional security that will last a lifetime. And of course, keeping up with those pediatrician visits provides that critical safety net for all of it.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this question. What truly matters more than whether your baby rolls over at 4 months or at 5 months? Well, the science is crystal clear. It's the consistent, loving caregiving. It's the secure attachment you build through all those little responsive interactions. That is the real foundation for a lifetime of healthy development. You're doing a great job.